Curious about learning adoption spirit magic? Curious about shuffling into a high state of adoption, immersing into adoption spirit magic? This true, false, pre, post adoption assumptions assessment may help. Welcome to Which to Take, Office of Fortune Teller, Shaman, Folk Artist with Cristina Lisa, and a little artist walkthrough for our annual low-key folk art affair. Peace, you may call us river, and develop with us which virtues of courage, honor, integrity, truth, and wisdom. And if you care to follow along this true, false, pre, post adoption assumptions assessment for a free PhD in adoption, you may follow along at Which to Take in Substack University. Which to Take's first Substack called Orphan's Oracle, and the post you may follow along in is titled True False Pre-Post Adoption Assumptions Assessment for a free PhD in Adoption, Alchemy, Being, Coach, Dada, Dignity, Divination, Dreamweave, Education, Equity, Folk Art, Fortune Tell, Free Will, Gypsy, Happiness, Harmony, Healing, Independence, Justice, Knowing Without Knowing, Liberty, Learning, Leading, Living, Loving, Mentor, Naive Art, Oracle, Pride, Shaman, Sustainability, Stats, Tarot, Tolerance. Oh yeah. How to move from a low to high state of adoption? Well, before we go any further, you may care to adopt this draft number 59 just since 2024. Does it add up to a map or a card deck? Perhaps. This true-false assessment for your and our free PhD in life worth living, aka adoption, aka you fill in the blank, accompanies psychosociology, a course to free will, at Which to Take at YouTube University. And this true-false assessment is also a crash course designed to go through quick and to revisit without too much thinking, showing up, getting a grade, badge, bell, whistle, diploma, as the nature of the topics are sensitive and intense beyond PhD level emotions, and your life is already full. You may care to keep track of the date and draft number of the initial test you take, so you have that for future reference. You can put that in your witchy books, your grimoire, your journal. And you are transforming storms into miracles. Congratulations. While emotions are like water, tears are rainbows to your soul, the first tribes remind us, thankfully. So we are in awe of you, being gentle with yourselves, not forcing the feed, soul surfing the waves, keeping this play. Maybe start your first time around this adoption assumption assessment, this 111 question test, with only doing 2 questions, the first and the last. You get the idea. Only do what you can take. Leave the rest behind for later, maybe. Maybe you return to retake, like washing your sheets or whatever it is you have grown to love cleaning. You may talk amongst yourselves about emotional and spiritual hygiene and super cleans on moon days. We got to this draft mostly one question at a time. First few drafts came in 2015, and then it sat until 2020 and 2024 as we adjusted to our magic wand waving us to a healing life path. How would you edit this test? What questions would you add, edit, or subtract? Are you curious to see the whole course? You can become a paid subscriber to peer review our free PhD. Oh, well, that offer may be over. Not sure. You can let us know if you're interested. Okay, so here we start. All of these questions are true, false. So we're just going to read them one at a time, and you can choose what you think the answer is, true or false. Got it? All right, here we go. Number 1. I don't know who I am, but life is for learning, wrote Joni Mitchell in her Woodstock song. Number 2. I love knowledge, because at its height, it allows me to transform my coal into gold with ease, without study, practice, discipline, punishment, remediation, rehab, fight, or war. And it allows me to reprogram my amygdala from cycling fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. And it helps me liberate my will from the bondage of loss. Question number 3. Life is for learning to love. Question 4. Life is for learning to tolerate nobody is perfect, starting with self. 5. If nobody is perfect, then nobody should know better. 6. Mercy Jubilee and Evolution Revolution equals justice, joy, peace on earth and beyond. 7. Racism equals winning race. Let me rephrase that. Number 7. Racism equals winning race. Race-ism equals erasing face. Erase-ism. Question number 8. The 2005 through 2015 decade of Romani gypsy inclusion, extending to 2019 and then again 2020 through 2030, of which the USA became an observer in 2012, is similar to and parallels No Child Left Behind, morphing like a butterfly into Every Student Succeeds. Question number 9. International Romani babies through adolescence adopted into the USA and U.S. Roma adopted domestically prior to 2009, maybe even to this day, only saw lowercase g gypsy in their K-12 school books, academic standards, and life. Question number 10. Orphan, adoptee, black with a uppercase, gypsy with a lowercase, Romani, queer, refugee, person who left behind Earth by suicide, sometimes are the same, and other times need explanation. Question 11. The verb to adopt means to choose for oneself. Question 12. To adopt means to acquire knowledge, attitude, skill, aspiration, and or behavior. 13. Adoption of success, as in self-realization, roots in the basic need to be accepted, belong, fit into a safe, sound group. Let me repeat that. Question 13. Adoption of success, as in self-realization, roots in the basic need to be accepted, belong, fit into a safe, sound group. Question 14. Sustainable education, teaching students to self-actualize at any age, has been made available to the masses. 15. The 21st century offers access to data from which to draw poignant, personalized conclusions. 16. So that all can thrive, not just the select few to manage. Let me try again. Number 16. So that all can thrive, not just the select few who manage to behave a certain way. We demonstrate lifelong learning as folk art, craft, science, game, and adoption as a language to expand lifelong learning and love. 17. In safe time and space, every human possesses capability to develop a variety of intelligences as she or he, they, wills, needs, desires, as she, he, they, and life keep changing. 18. Knowledge is power, and when it's really wise, it does not justify leaving behind quote-unquote bad, dumb, evil children, adolescents, adults as quote-unquote for the best. 19. Nurses learn during school the stages of life are baby toddler, play years, school years, adolescence, then young, middle, and late adult. 20. The life stage of adolescence spans a spell of 10 years, from 14 to 24. 21. Ages 14 through 35 is an equitable, dignified spell for secondary education, apprenticeship, and to overcome all the loss accrued before age 13. 22. Regarding your free PhD, playing your cards is its assessment of and for learning. Question 23. Playing your cards is your personal and professional development plan for life you need, want, desire, as you and life keep changing into the blue beyond. Question 24. Dr. Robert Wang reported on page 6 in the booklet accompanying the Golden Dawn Tarot. The essential purpose of tarot is to teach, affirming that flashcards teach humans languages from math to blessed dreams. Question 25. One person at a time, all together apart, we end hate, 'tis in the cards. Question 26. Every human, not just the adoptee, is dealt 7 two-faced cards with each loss experienced throughout life on planet Earth. Loss, grief, rejection, mastery and control, guilt and shame, intimacy and identity. Question 27. Until she tends to the primal wounds, each human is triggered by guilt and shame, mastery and control, rejection, identity, intimacy, loss, and grief. Let me repeat that one. Question 27. Until she, he, they tend to the primal wounds, each human is triggered by guilt and shame, mastery and control, rejection, identity, intimacy, loss, and grief. Question 28. Global nations rally for youth under 18, priming them for religious military police and sex service to secure homelands with fights and fucks. 29. Historically, adoption spirit has been mistaken for fighting spirit. Question 30. Books through movies show orphans make awesome assassins, spies, soldiers, sex workers. Question 31. The heart of adoption spirit can be felt and seen in Romans 8:15. We have not received the spirit of bondage again to fear. We have received the spirit of adoption, whereby we cry, "Thanks, God, for helping us all." Question 32. General Treaty for Renunciation of War as an Instrument of National Policy, birthed in 1928. Yet people possessed by grief still justify warring. Question 33. Fighting the good-evil fight and self-defense classes harm more than help, actually perpetuating loss, trauma, hate, intolerance, violence cycles. Question 34. Before there comes hatred and fighting, hold on to the caravan and go, is wisdom from the Manouche, also known as French Romani, gypsy. Question 35. Loss, not evil entities, blocks academic, linguistic, cultural development while breeding hate, intolerance, violent cycles within self and others. Question 36. In India, the cow became sacred, in part to milk all the orphans. Question 37. Young through elder citizen of a nation at war suffers symptoms looking like PTSD, ADHD, addiction, bipolar, depression, academic, linguistic, developmental delays, molest, suicide, homicide, overdosing on substances such as food and drugs. Question 38. Currently, more accessible information, including advertising, exists to help a wannabe parent to adopt an animal than a baby elder human being. Let me repeat that question again, please. Thank you. Question 38. Currently, more accessible information, including advertising, exists to help a wannabe parent adopt an animal more so than adopting a baby through elder human being. Question 39. Gypsy Romani got used as a test run for the final solution, in part due to a magistrate, Alfred Hock, and a shrink, Carl Binding, in the 1920s, deeming them incurably mentally ill and therefore not in possession of life worth living, in their book, The Eradication of Lives Undeserving of Life. Ideas originating even before the Gypsy Scum Conference of 1890. Question 40. Adoptee is often mistaken through mistreated by parent, professional, and peer as incurably mentally ill, like addict, ADD, ADHD, bipolar, criminal, developmentally delayed, evil, on par with the Holocaust, the great devouring rape. Question 41. A quote-unquote gypsy squad to combat quote-unquote gypsy fraud, uppercase G, then lowercase g, exists in the FLA police force. Let me repeat that question, please. Thank you. Question 41. A gypsy squad to combat gypsy fraud exists in Florida police force. Question 42. Finland used to bar births of gypsy, Romani, mustalainen, Kaale, black. It's all the same way to say, different ways to say the same thing. Pardon me, let me repeat that question again. Finland used to bar births of gypsy, also called Romani, mustalainen, Kaale, black. Question 43. To avoid persecution through death, past through present, gypsies through Romani create more adoptable origin stories through papers about themselves, like that they are Bohemian. Question 44. Interest in the welfare of the adoptee has shifted from serving families and or nations' emotional, physical, spiritual intimacy, power, needs, and wants to meeting the adoptee's basic needs, like security and unconditional love. Question 45. People at the World Population Conference penned the World Population Plan of Action in 1974, authorizing adoption to serve families their desired number of children. Question 46. Faces of the adoptee are diverse, from the baby of an adolescent to the abandoned, abused, neglected gypsy, free spirit, bohemian adult, divorced, free thinker, illegal alien, immigrant, orphan, naturalized citizen, refugee, truth seeker, and terrorist. 47. U.S. citizens lead the charge, adopting over half the world's orphans. Question 48. Russian and Chinese citizens adopt most of Earth's orphans after the USA. Question 49. In the mail envelope with any U.S. citizen's new passport is a brochure to help adoptive parents travel safely when going to pick up their international orphan. Question 50. Lines like, play nice, be kind, land like an order, amounting to authoritarianism. 51. Behavior modification through military schools for quote-unquote troubled youth are inhumane, scapegoating the youth for the family through national losses. Question 52. Every home is a university, and the parents, the teachers, suggests Mahatma Gandhi. Question 53. When most documented quote-unquote behavior problems, K-12 home, school, business are literal and figurative orphans through adoptees, then administrators, teachers, parents, and students got a racism assignment to transmute into unconditional love. Question 54. In the USA, the majority in special ed, treatment centers, prisons, military, police, sex industry are literal and figurative orphans, adoptees, and gypsies. Question 55. Orphan, adoptee, gypsy, Romani suicide rates parallel military polices. Question 56. The Kentler experiment adopted orphaned gypsies, youth, and Romani to quote-unquote pedophiles from the late 1960s to 1990s, touting success in 1988. Question 57. USA was made by literal, figurative orphans adopting people, places, things to soothe their primal wounds instead of doing their loss work. Question 58. The group consisting of mother, father, and child is the main educational agency of mankind, Martin Luther King Jr. advocates. Question 59. O Baroporayamos, the great devouring rape, how Romani call what most others term the Holocaust, has yet to be taught in U.S. K-12 schools. Please forgive my pronunciation with that, 59. O Baroporayamos, the great devouring rape, how Romani call what most others term the Holocaust, has yet to be taught in U.S. K-12 schools. Question 60. In some dialects of Romani Chib, gypsy tongue, Korkoro means freedom. In others, it means alone. And it's the title of a film by Tony Gatliff. Question 61. Statute of limitations in child abuse through molest cases that, in theory, encourage the person suffering neglect through abuse as a child under the age of 18 to respond sooner rather than later, in practice, amount to figurative rape, simultaneously expecting the person seeking justice to appreciate it. Question 62. When I tell youth under 35, that doesn't hurt, in response to them speaking up when I hurt them, I run the risk of them learning to allow others to hurt them intimately, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, on top of teaching them how to take their grief out on, bully, hurt themselves and others, even after the other says, "Ow, that hurts, I can't take that." And I take responsibility for that generational racism, in part, by respecting all youth voices from here on out. Question 33. 63. Pardon me. Question 63. Reading between the lines of our epidemic of loneliness and isolation, the U.S. Surgeon General's 2023 advisory on the healing effects of social community and connection, hints of the adoption and gypsy snafu, and hints at solutions. The majority of individuals feel orphaned literally and figuratively, banking on the orphan, adoptee, and gypsy for emotional support. Question 64. The rate we have sequenced and paced adoption explains the rash of identity theft, left behind people, places, things, terrorism, school shootings, opioid crisis, addiction, obesity, war, divorce, early death, and murder mysteries. Question 65. Beginning through master teachers, commit to annual personal through professional development to meet the changing needs of their students and themselves. Question 66. Teaching is such a challenging profession that many teachers quit within 5 years of beginning, on par with parenthood and parents. Question 67. Romani, gypsy, orphan, adoptee most often roam to flee persecution. Question 68. No matter where you go, your family is in your belly. Remind the Romani Compania tribe called Kaldarash. Question 69. You are in Romanistan when you are in the presence of a Romani. Question 70. Psychic temples grace almost every corner in California, thanks to Fatima Stevens, a Romani gypsy in 1985, winning that right in the Spiritual Psychic Science Church Truth versus the City of Azusa court case. Question 71. Every human is a psychic and medium. Only some choose to study and practice for life worth living because free will is real and loss is a wild ride. Question 72. Every human is a different psychosociology experiment. Question 73. One person's medicine may be another's poison. Question 74. Many mainstream films through shows introduce orphan, adoptee, gypsy by minute 20. Question 75. Folk wanting their desired number of kids led to the character creation of Baruka wanting her golden egg in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Question 76. An adoptee touting, "Adoption is for the best," is a yellow flag they got indoctrinated by their family through nation with adoption fairy tales and gypsy myths. Question 77. Each time I look quote-unquote dumb, mentally ill, evil, criminal, addict, narcissist, pedophile in the eyes, I see hurt in disguise, calling for the salves of unarmed truths and unconditional love, not always my turn to serve. Question 78. When making a difference in the life of literal and figurative young through elder, adoptee through gypsy, I elect to do more than simply showing up with love in my heart, so she or he or they don't end up serving as my emotional support dolly. Question 79. I elect to stop taking doctor's orders to adopt and to war to improve my life. Question 80. I elect to swap out consuming the news in favor of healing sessions. Question 81. In order for every student to succeed, to heal self and generations forwards and back much quicker and with less collateral damage than competition through war, I elect to change how I think about and do adoption of animal, baby, culture, land, outer space, etc., to be more about an ever-evolving, equitable social contract than a doctor-prescribed emotional support dolly for the adopter. Question 82. I elect to learn how to sustain life worth living on Mother Earth before I consider multiplying and or blasting off into Father Sky for another planet. Question 83. To take responsibility for my loss, I elect to swap out creating entertainment that ropes in, makes fun of, and makes light of the orphan, adoptee, and gypsy. Question 84. To take responsibility for my losses, I elect to stop identifying as mad. Question 85. I elect we change all ranks of religious Let me try that again. Question 85. I elect we change all ranks of religious military police, military police, into healing teaching homeschool because I translate the mad call for war as a distorted cry to care tenderly for the youth under 35 and all of their families, even the loves grief-struck by loss, possessed by grief, acting out their amygdala, cycling fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. As for the best, correct, just how we do love in this house through nation, love it or leave it. Question 86. I elect to swap out games through media featuring crime scene investigations, murder mysteries, sex and violence, war, we adopted a child, funny animal children videos as passed to relax and or feel improved about my life. I elect to swap out of my speech. Question 87. Question 87. I elect to swap out of my speech the words hate, fight, good, evil, better, best, great, fine, bad, worse, worst, nice, favorite, bitch, crazy, dick, asshole, douche, dumb, stupid, loser, shit show. I will do. Question 88. I elect to see my anger as a red flag to tag out and tend to my profound sadness instead of spewing hate speech or madly marching forward to war. Question 89. I elect to put away all the bits and pieces involved in Independence Day, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, President's Day, for I notice these days are where sacrifice morphs into a guilt trip, sabotaging adoption of success for us. Question number 90. I elect to put away all the bits and pieces involved with the Olympics because it primes youth and family to perpetuate fighting spirit instead of peace, and leaves me behind feeling sad and mad and pumped up to fight to fit in, but I don't wanna. Question number 91. I elect to stop using matter like the pandemic, masks, no masks, traffic, weather, sports, kids, terrorists, presidents, candidates, war, school shootings as reasons to hate. Number 92. I elect to stop saying lines like, I hate this weather and I hate this food. Question number 93. I elect to stop identifying as a lowercase g gypsy and are calling free spirits gypsies. Question number 94. I elect to move military art into museums, from cannons and cars to statues and clothes. From cannons, cars, statues to clothes. Let me repeat that question, please. Thank you. 94. I elect to move military art into museums, from cannons, cars, and statues to clothes. Question number 95. I elect to stop buying into American football and cheerleading because they teach individuals and groups how to gang up, jeer, violently jump an individual as merriment. Question 96. I elect to sit out of any event, holiday, school, business, where we dress up in costumes through uniforms, gather, study, eat, drink, and then jeer the youth through enemy. Question 96. Please let me repeat that. I elect to sit out of any event, holiday, school, business, where we dress up in costumes and uniforms, where we gather, study, eat, drink, and then jeer youth through the enemy. Jeer, not cheer. Question number 97. I elect we stop using / consuming children and ads for the family business, the nonprofit, the big business, entertainment, diversion, fun, and games. Question number 98. I elect we stop adopting people in exchange for their military service, especially when fighting the good-evil fight was how they got orphaned. Question 99. I elect to stop judging through treating young through elder as quote-unquote bad through evil, kicking them out of home through classroom of life, because those are some of the actions that leave behind people systemically, like the most effective authoritarian dictator. Question 100. To put to rest the Roman Empire, where adoption was more akin to exploitation and slavery than education and saving, I elect we stop adopting people into the military with benefits like technical education and traveling the world, unless we transform military into healing homeschool. Question 101. I elect to sit out of home through classrooms, places of worship, games, entertainment, holidays, media campaigns, teams, clubs, shows, events, programs, adhering to and led by the fighting spirit, cutoff culture, critical culture. Question 102. To take responsibility for the part I play in that, I elect to harness and reassign my amygdala bent on cycling fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn. Question 103. I elect to heal from the losses experienced due to family through community before the age of 18, instead of enrolling in the military service at 18, as the way to secure home through lands with less collateral damage than fighting through war. Question 104. I elect to allow at least 5 to 10 years to heal from my childhood trauma. Question 105. When I parent, I elect to pay for my child's therapy until death. Question 106. I affirm that I am a love light devoted to every student succeeding, starting with me, and even young through elder possessed by grief struck by loss, taking out their grief on self and others, amygdala cycling, fear, fight, flight, freeze, fuck, fawn is for the best, correct, just how we do love here. Question 107. I elect to study, practice, and develop as a psychic for life worth living because I notice that I pick up directly on objects, events, and people. Question 108. I elect to develop as a medium because I notice it's part of my formal education, proving continuity of life, personal survival, unfoldment, and growth. Question 109. I elect to develop as a healer because I notice once stress is removed from mind and emotions, the body heals itself and my learning blocks decrease. Question 110. I elect to practice unconditional love and unarmed truths to keep peace. Question 111. I elect to change my mind as investigation and thought reveal new truth. Glory be, hallelujah. That's it. 41 minutes to go through that test with the instructions and the introduction. Thank you so much for joining us in this session, for taking such sweet care of yourself, steering clear of danger, playing with yourself, your cards. We are in awe of you, your energy, essence, and arts. If you are curious and want more, are looking for more, you may flip through our socials like a stack of tarot. We are offering a new course, April and May. Well, maybe it's in May. It's called Chiron Report. You may find it fascinating, seeing in the stars how we are all being invited to flip over the fighting spirit card, to play through loss with adoption spirit instead. And other courses you may appreciate, psychosociology. I think there's 3 main classes and then a bunch of offshoots. Our Instagram you may appreciate, flipping through that like a stack of tarot, a little more personal, and also our blogs that we kept since 2009, since we decided to dance out of the fog of adoption fairy tales, gypsy myths, fighting spirit. So you may see what that looks like. You may see the transitions and how we changed, how we shifted. And those blogs are Gypsy Myth Debunked. That one was established in 2009. Romney Ramparts was established in 2015. Land of Art Monastery was established in 2019. Gem and Pen was established in 2020. And then Orphan's Oracle was established in 2025, and Earth Your Ether was established, I think, in 2026. So there's a whole bunch of cards. They are mostly flip card blogs, so it looks like a bunch of cards, like a stack of tarot. And, the essential purpose of tarot is to teach. So you may flip through those, and if the card you pick isn't interesting or doesn't resonate, you may say your pretty prayer and pick another one until you find one that resonates or helps you along the next step of your journey. Or you may change the channel altogether if this is not resonating with you. We are all different psychosociology experiments, and what resonates for one may not for another. So thank you so much for using your gifts of discernment before deciding what to gather and take away, adopting as your own. We are so thrilled to be establishing a new earth with you, grounded in unarmed truths and unconditional love. Whichever way you choose to go, may you trust 7 days a week. You are loved. Ciao for now. We love you all.